Okay, this video is on the skeletal system. Okay, most often we find that skeletal system is defined as the system which gives shape to the body, but which I don't find it very appropriate. The most important work of the skeletal system, I think, is to produce blood, because you can have a crooked or a very deformed shape, but if the skeletal system still produces blood, you can still survive. But if it fails to produce blood, then you're dead. So the most important work of the bones is to produce blood, and then it protects vital organs like brain, lungs, heart. All of that needs to be well protected. Spinal cord, another very, very important structure of the body. So those are all protected by the bones. And then it gives shape to the body. It helps in movement and locomotion. So this is movement. The body stays stationary at a place and parts of it move. Okay, that's movement. But when my whole body is transferred from one place to another, that's locomotion. So all of that is made possible because of the skeleton, along with the muscles. When we move on to the human skeleton comprises of just two parts: axial skeleton and appendicular skeleton. So let's discuss that. Axial skeleton comprises of the skull, vertebral column, ribs, and sternum. Skull, vertebral column, backbone, ribs, the rib cage, and the sternum. Sternum is a bone that is in the front here. Okay, I've just tried to draw this skull. Looks horrible, but this is the skull, backbone, comprising of 33 bones, and the skull has, this BB stands for the brain box. It has this 8 bones that covers the brain, okay? And the face, that F stands for the facial side of it. It has 14 bones. So all of that makes up the skull. Then the vertebral column is made up of 33 bones, joined like that. And the last 4, the coccygeal is fused. This is the sacral, coccygeal, sacral 5 bones, lumbar 5 bones, thoracic 12 bones, and cervical there are 7 cervical bones. And from it, these bones arise and form this rib cage. And in the front, there's a structure like this, just like a dagger. This is called the sternum. Have I written sternum somewhere? Okay, whatever it is, this sternum. So 7 of the ribs are attached to the sternum. The first 7 are attached to the sternum, and they are called the true ribs. There are different types of ribs, okay, rib bones. First, the true ribs, which are attached to the sternum with the help of hyaline cartilage. The cartilage that helps bind these bones to the sternum, called hyaline cartilage. The 8th, after this, if this is the 7th one, the 8th, 9th, and the 10th, they are attached to the 7th with the help of hyaline cartilage again. So if this is the 7th one, 7th rib, okay, the 8th is attached here to the 7th with the help of hyaline cartilage. 9th again to the 8th one, and the 10th again is attached to the 9th, like that. And all these attachments we call hyaline cartilage. So 8th, 9th, and 10th joined to the 7th. And then we have the 11th and 12th. Let's draw here. 11th and 12th are not attached with anything at all. So they are free. Okay? And they are called floating ribs. Because they are not attached, they are called floating ribs. So these are the different bones of the axial skeleton. We move on to the appendicular skeleton, which comprises of the girdles and the limbs. The girdles are your pectoral girdle and your pelvic girdle. And the girdles, the work of the girdles is just to attach the limbs, your hands, to the axial skeleton. Hands and your legs, okay? So the work of the girdles is to attach limbs to the axial skeleton. We'll talk about the limbs now. We have the forelimbs and hind limbs. Hind limbs, two of each, okay? Forelimbs, we're talking about this arm. Okay? This here bone, these are the longest bones of the body. Humerus, this bone is called the humerus. It is attached to this arm, which has two bones, okay, called the radius and ulna. Then we reach the wrist. Here we have carpals. There are 8 of these carpals, which slide over each, okay, to bring this movement. You can twist and turn, rotate your wrist because of the carpals that are there. And then you have metacarpals. These are the long ones. When you do this, you can see these long bones. These are metacarpals. There are 5 of them. And then you got phalanges. If you count the phalanges, phalanges are the bones that are found in your fingers and the thumb. The thumb has only 2. Okay? And while the rest of your fingers have 3 pieces here in each of these fingers. So 3, 3, 3, 3, and 2 gives you 14 phalanges. So these are the bones that comprises your forelimb. And then we move on to the hind limb. The longest bone of the body is the femur. Fat bones from your hip to the knees. Okay? Femur, which is attached to your shin bone, comprises of tibia and fibula. 2 bones here. Then we have another extra bone that covers your knees. It's called the patella. Okay? This is the one that often gets cracked or broken for many footballers. Then we move on to tarsals. They are the ones that give you this rotating or help you rotate your ankle. Tarsal, and then these long bones are called the metatarsals. Tarsals, you've got 8. Of course, you've got 1 fibula, 1 tibia, and 1 femur. And then metatarsals, you've got 5. And then phalanges again. On the big toe, you've got 2 phalanges, and the rest of those have 3 each, leading to a total of 14 phalanges. So these are the different bones of your appendicular, your foreleg and your hind limbs. Let's move on to the next topic, joints. What are joints? They are points where separate bones meet, or 2 bones coming into contact with each other. That's the place called joints. There are different types. Basically, there are just 3 types. Immovable joints, partially movable joints, and freely movable joints. Immovable joints are found in the brain box. We talk about how there are 8 bones that makes up the brain box, and it's joined so firmly that it can't be moved at all. So that's your immovable joints. Then comes partially movable joints. It's found in the ribs. When you breathe, you actually move and increase the volume of your chest by actually lifting. This is your rib. When you lift it up, it actually goes to a little, that distance. So this is the volume that is increased. Not much, but enough to bring a gush of wind into your lungs. So that is your partially movable joints. Then freely movable joints. You can move these joints to any different direction. And there are 3 of them. Freely movable joints allow a lot of movement as compared to the rib bones. There are 4 of freely movable joints. First, gliding joints. Gliding joints, as stated earlier, in the ankle and the wrist, we have the carpals and the tarsals. Now, the carpals and the tarsals, they allow this gliding joint, where the bone glides over another. Okay, so that's gliding joint. Pivot joint is found on the neck, where one bone rotates over another, making it a pivot. So if this is one bone of your neck, and then the other one is on top of it, and it has the ability to rotate on the one which forms the pivot. So that is your pivot joint found in the neck. When you turn your neck around, move your head around. Then comes your hinge joint. This allows movement in just one plane, like a door, just one plane. And that is found on your elbows. You cannot move your hands this way. So, just one plane. And your knees. Knees and the elbow allow movement in just one plane. That's called the hinge joint. Then comes ball and socket joint, which is found on your shoulders, where you can rotate your arms, and move it in any direction. Shoulders and the hip, similar. So that's called ball and socket joint. Then comes tendons. Tendons and ligaments are fibrous structures. They are inelastic. They do not stretch. And but the difference is tendons will attach. This is the muscle, and here is the tendon. Tendon attaches a bone to a muscle. Okay. Tendons, bone to muscles, to bring about this movement. Then you have ligaments, bone to bone. Now here is one bone, another bone. Let's say knee. And that it's very slippery. And this has the tendency to go down easily because of the weight of the body. Okay? But this does not happen because ligaments bind it. So a ligament binds one bone to another, whereas tendons binds one bone to a muscle. So that's the difference between ligament and a bone. Then we move on to muscles. Muscles are special cells that can contract or elongate, and they're the ones that actually bring about movement. Whichever part of your body you're able to move contains muscles. And there are basically three different types. First of all is voluntary muscle. Muscles that are under your will, controlled by your will, called voluntary muscles. And they are capable of doing a large amount of work for a short period of time. They are able to do a large amount of work for a short period of time, and they get tired easily. Whereas the second type is called involuntary muscles. Involuntary muscles are controlled by the brain, okay, and you do not have any control over it. So it is not under our will. Not under our will. Involuntary muscles are capable of doing very less amount of work from time to time. They will not be working all the time. They are designed to perform only small work, a work of small intensity for a short period of time, and they can get tired very easily. Then comes the third type, which is called the cardiac muscles. Cardiac muscles are found only in the heart. Okay? And they are designed to perform heavy work for long periods of time. For example, a person can run 20 kilometers, or 22 kilometers, that's just half marathon. 22 kilometers for hours. And all of that time, the heart will be pumping at its strongest. So, the heart does not get tired so easily. It is designed that way. So, cardiac muscles are muscles that seldom get tired. They can perform intense work for long periods of time, but they also need some rest. For example, people who are engaged in these mobile games and they play games for days on, 2-3 days without sleeping, they can get a heart attack, cardiac arrest. They can suddenly die. So, because the heart also needs some rest. When we talk about heart, people say broken-hearted people. Heart never breaks. It bends, but it never breaks. If it does, that's the end of you. Okay, so and the last type of muscle is called the antagonistic muscles. Antagonistic antagonistic muscles are, a pair of muscles which can work only one way. For example, I'm just giving you the example of the biceps and the triceps. Biceps are here, and the triceps are down here. When the biceps contract, it pulls the arm. It's not when you move your arms, this kind of flexes. It's the other way around. When it flexes, when it contracts, it pulls the arm up. But when it elongates, it cannot elongate. So it needs another set of muscles to bring the arm down. Okay, it does not fall because of gravity. There has to be another work of a set of muscles known as the triceps. When the triceps contract, it pulls the arm down. So when this movement is made, to undo this movement, you need another set of muscles. So those kind of pairs of muscles are known as antagonistic muscles. Okay, so that's it.